Hey all. So last war of the season here, and I'm actually recording this before the war is over because I do not have any Miniboss Island fights assigned. And so I'm not going to speculate on how things are going because I know better than that. But we are still in it, I'll say that. So first off, we have this Ghost Rider. I feel like this is kind of a mystic trap. I mean, it's not. You can definitely take this with a mystic like Doom and just be careful because of return policy. But if you're not careful, and he ends up throwing both a heavy and a special one and a special two, then you can get that power lock on you. Although this one isn't even awakened, so you wouldn't be taking the damage from the judgment. I don't know, probably just a diversity placement. But because that special one can hit so hard if you mess up, I decided to go ahead and use Torch so I would be immune to the Incinerates, and that means I had to use his pre-fight here. I have one other Torch fight later on, but it's not going to be an issue. So we have this Venom, or this Warlock here that I'm taking with Venompool because I have another good Venompool fight later on. And I decided to go with that Hunter Spider because honestly, that's just kind of my default so far. If there's not much else to a fight, especially if there's something like armor or some other damage mitigation, I like to throw on the Hunter Spider because you'll see those red numbers. It just kind of magnifies everything, speeds things up, and is, of course, magnified by the Furies when those come in. Now, the thing about Venompool is that he is pretty much immune to everything Warlock can possibly do. Infection can stop healing, but we already have the passive heal block on the node. Venompool is immune to his shocks, he is immune to his armor breaks, he is immune to his power drain. So even if Warlock were to throw a special while I was infected, nothing would happen. I don't have to turn off willpower for this fight. I mean, we use Venom for this all the time, and he's fantastic because he pretty quickly gets enough buffs up that infection isn't a problem. But you just don't even have to worry about that with Venompool. He's an extremely hard counter. And then you get that big old degen on there. I mean, this is just fun. Nice and quick. Probably could have forced it a little bit faster, but that was extremely safe, under a minute. So then we have Doctor Doom here with Reed. Done this a bunch. Took it last war. Got hit in the face. I'm going to be very careful not to do that this time. But it pretty much always goes the same way. We use all three of the pre-fights. The suppression and the petrify are very important for us. And the debuff siphoner is nice because if we trigger power snack and get that shock on us, then we're going to reduce the damage from it and eventually heal from it. However, my game plan is to not rely on that for healing or anything because I don't want to be slightly too close when Doom decides to go to a heavy and get smacked. The evade may happen if I don't land the parry properly. My plan there is just when that happens, back the heck off and wait for a better opening. Because I'm just not going to force anything. I have noticed that on this node, it seems, and Doom especially lately, seems to be playing really cagey. Like the AI just seems to be a real big fan of stutter stepping, by which I mean when they kind of idle forward and then they tap block to interrupt it and then they idle forward a little bit more and then they tap block again and then they charge at you to try and disguise where you need to put that parry. I mean, the AI loves to do that in war, but I've been getting a ton of it with Doom lately. And one of my personal weaknesses is that I don't feel that I have the best close parry game. As in, if there is not a large window of them charging in, or if I'm not like finishing up a combo, I don't always nail it. And you see that a couple times here. I'm okay at it, but the champions I play don't normally require it, and so I end up taking a little bit more block damage here than I would in an ideal world. But it's not the biggest deal in the world because you know, I can always heal him up later. I now have the fight completely under control because I have all 3 stacks of the debuffs, and we are easily winning the HP race. Oh, the other thing that didn't go quite according to plan is that he held on to his specials until his special 2, and so we only have the one special 1 debuff, just now getting the second, instead of having already had the passive. But that's not the biggest deal in the world. We're still doing plenty of damage. The Fury isn't quite as big as it would be, but those are pretty solid non-crits given how high Doom's armor rating is. I've talked before about how I think his base stats are just ridiculous, and a fight like this really proves it. It's also interesting that this one is not placed with willpower. I'm sure there are some other fights on the map where that's trying to be a trap for somebody. But we lost about 30%. Go ahead and throw this. I think I'll probably need another combo after this, but the fight's over, nice and safe. I have taken this faster, boosted less, but, you know, sometimes that's just the way the AI plays ball or doesn't play ball. So this Iron Man is very simple. You basically just reparry and medium, light, medium, and or throw heavies in response to his heavies. And once he gets down to that 18% where his SIG kicks in, then you switch to only heavy counters to make sure that you don't get auto-blocked and parried, and that's kind of all there is to it. I threw on, as you saw, only a health boost before this. I will be throwing on the generic and attack boosts for later fights, but I didn't want my mediums critting for enough to trigger rage here. I knew that the second hit of the heavy probably would. It hasn't yet, but it does happen a couple times in here. But basically, my point with throwing the heavy is just to keep the debuff siphoner up, because that's kind of my replacement for the pre-fight. Like I said, I felt I needed to use the pre-fight earlier to be safe, and I'm using debuff siphoner here to increase the damage from my incinerates, kind of as a replacement. But keeping it up is not worth possibly sending him unblockable, and so here I go ahead and let it fall off. We are easily winning the HP race. That part I'm not worried about. I'm going to start switching into heavy counters only here soon, or reparries and then heavies, because he's approaching that. There. Now he's under 18. We go ahead and bait this out so we don't have to worry about that. Heavy, and now we wait for him to throw this and for the armor ups to expire, and we'll just see what his health is at. Okay, he got down to 4% without it, so I'm going to go ahead and throw my special 3. It obviously won't kill him because he has more than 2.5% health left, but it will place 1 Nova Flame, and that's going to be enough to finish him off. Yep, triggered Fury, but it doesn't matter because we had stopped throwing heavies when we saw those first 2 Furies come up. We didn't get close to that cap of 5, plenty of room. So this Mangog has power focus too. Because of that, we know beyond a doubt that he is going to be gaining power and throwing specials. We're not going to be able to fully lock him down. But he already has reduced combat power rate in his kit, and the node is not boosting ability power rate. And so we will be able to mitigate and then shut that down, as well as mitigate and then shutting down Mystic Dispersion, which makes him just a lot less scary here. We probably will have to hold on to our specials because he's probably going to throw enough special ones to go unblockable and unstoppable, so we just factor that in. We're going to try and stack up our debuffs, but really the important thing is getting that second stack, because that gets us to an 80% reduction in ability power rate, and we don't have to freak out about the third. If it happens, it happens. So, not ideal, didn't land that first parry, kind of what I was talking about. But we get that one, and then we're going to switch it up. We don't need to heavy again immediately. We can throw a couple shortened combos to get some of those aggression prowess stacks off, just on the off chance we end up blocking a special too. And then we go for a heavy to refresh and pause the debuffs. So here he throws his second special one, and he's at 7. And I'm thinking at this point, okay, he's going to throw one more and be at 9, and then the one after that, I'm going to need a special. And so I am not 100% confident that I am going to get up to my next bar of power before he gets to his, especially if I throw this special too and give him a ton of power. And so I just hold on to it. Like I said, we have the 2 stacks. That's the critical part. We don't necessarily need the 3. So we hold on to the special 3, we toss it, we're going to get that nice big fury and knock him down to refresh the debuffs. The fight is perfectly under control. And if this gives him a special 1 and he throws that, thankfully it doesn't quite get him there because of that double suppression. But even if he throws another special 1 and goes unblockable, he won't go unstoppable, so we didn't have to worry about finishing that combo out and making sure we had a stagger up on him. And then the special 1 just finishes it off. Less than 2 minutes, dangerous defender, totally hosed, never a problem, never got close to 2 bars. So at this point, I backed out and went and did a bunch of duels, because Peni has a weird moveset. I've taken her a few times in war now, and I'm fairly comfortable with it, but, you know, you don't rely on instincts from a couple weeks ago for something like this. So I do go for a different pre-fight here. I mentioned earlier that the Hunter Spider was kind of my default, but I know that this is going to be a longer fight, because protection is going to limit how quickly I can take down her shield and how much damage she takes. Mighty Charge is going to basically mean I can't rely on my specials for that big damage over time. So I'm just going to have to wear her down. And Malice is the one that makes the Furies stronger the longer the fight goes on. And I figure I'm going to have a lot of Furies, so I might as well be boosting them, because I'm going to be here for a while. So notice I did go for an Intercept early. That's because I want to be able to take down her shield more effectively, because if she has protection up, my hits into her block do drop the shield more slowly. Unfortunately, even though she had 8 charges, she didn't auto-block for any of that, and so I didn't really get to capitalize on it. I probably could have played it a little better, but that's okay. We're actually still making progress on her shield. Now that we've triggered that auto-block, she's out of charges. We can go for another Intercept potentially here and get that protection off. I think I was looking for an opportunity here. Don't really see it, so I hit into her. I know that she's just going to throw another special 1, but it's okay. It doesn't look like we're making a ton of progress, but I will point out that we've still made it past 20%, so we are technically on pace. And this is a ramp-up champion, so things are going to get better and better. There we go. Now we go ahead and drop her shield. I'm trying to bait out this special 1. Glad I used that invulnerability, because anytime my game plan includes intercepts, I want a little bit of insurance. There we go. I reparry here to get that vicious debuff. I fully expect that she is going to shrug the bleed quickly, but I might as well make sure that it does a good amount of damage for the 2 or 3 ticks that I have. That's why I've made sure to land that heavy, because for those of you who don't know Venompool, it increases the potency of this bleed by 60%. So you see how it's doing 6,000 damage per tick there until she shrugs it. It lasted a couple ticks, so I feel like landing that heavy was absolutely worth it. So I'm shortening my combos because, as I've mentioned before, like with MODOK, if she auto-blocks you and you continue your combo into her, she can dash out of it mid-combo and then punish you. So I really try and play nice and short. As soon as she auto-blocks me, I back off. So her shield's down here. I figure if I can bait out this special one and land a single intercept, the fight's over. There we go. So it took almost 3 minutes, but the fight or the paths leading up to this didn't really lend themselves to a Corvus, and I'm convinced that Venom would have taken significantly longer. So I'm quite happy with how that went. It felt very safe. We just ramped up. Like I said, we were kind of on pace to just almost time out if you look at how much health we'd taken down in a minute. But Venompool is a ramp up champion, so we very quickly got through the rest of it. I'm very glad I ranked him. I don't use him a lot, but I enjoy it every time, and that felt like a great counter. So we'll see how the rest of the war goes. I will update you on that and our season results when those come in, and I should have an opening for the end of the season. It's possible I'll hold on to that part until I also finish 7.3, but I'll make that decision as things come. I also will be releasing sometime this week the next video in my Essential Alliance War Offense series. It is going to be the science class, and the reason it's not done yet is both because I had, work this past week, and because there's a lot to talk about with science. But if you want to make sure you catch that, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification button, and I will catch y'all next time. Take care.